Hey guys, welcome to Buzzkill Films. Do you like movies? Well, we're probably going to rip them apart.
Hey, I'm Danny.
Hi, I'm Claire.
Hi, I'm Andy.
Hey, I'm Dan.
Elliot.
And we are reviewing Boyhood this week. I am going to be the moderator because I chose not to watch this movie again this year. But for everybody else who's going to be chiming in, they did watch it and they have things to say. So we're going to be talking about the critically acclaimed film Boyhood. It was filmed over a 12-year period and is from writer, director, producer Richard Linklater. The story is told through the eyes of the character Mason, who we see grow up on screen over the course of the film. Boyhood stars Ethan Hawke, Patricia Arquette, Richard Linklater's daughter, which probably explains how she got cast. And let's get into it.
Oh, boy.
Everybody.
All right.
Boy, oh, boy.
The big question. So it was up for many Oscar nominations last year. Are you getting sassy already? We just began.
Okay, wait. You can obviously tell that Richard Linklater's daughter did not want to be in that movie.
Oh,
she turned
not even
10.
remotely. I think that's why they made her into almost like that goth character, because she's like, Dad, I'm so over this. Please.
The only thing she did in the movie was not pick up her brother for school one day.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, no, that was terrible.
Boyhood was up for a lot of Oscar nominations last year. It did win supporting actress for Patricia Arquette, but it did not win Best Film of the Year. Do you think that it got snubbed?
Absolutely
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Are you
not.
kidding?
Patricia Arquette deserved that award.
No, she did not.
Oh, I loved her in that
so
movie.
disagree.
She has come a long way from Little Nicky. I'll tell you that much.
Boy.
We are already off
We're
to a
already
great
off.
start.
No,
Holy shit, we're already off the rails.
There is a moment in the film, and she goes, "Is that all there is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking of your performance." Listen, I fully support the artistic idea of filming over 12 years, and I mean, I commend them for really sticking to it. But god damn, was it a long movie, and it was boring.
Well, that brings me to a question. So one of the novelties of the film is that you get to see in real time, not in real time, but they filmed it over 12 years. So you get to see different trends, different things that were going on at the time that was being filmed. And it's pretty incredible to watch, these people grow up. Do you think if it weren't for that factor, it would be nearly as impressive?
No.
Who gives a shit about
The
it?
only thing I
Seriously.
liked about that movie was the nostalgia.
Yeah, that was the big thing. There's something really interesting to be said about the whole, filming something over the 12 years and the artistic integrity and all that bullshit. But for Christ's sake, it's just so bored. This movie sucked my balls. It was just not...
And I was thinking, did they just write the script and just write insert Democratic nominee of 2008?
Well, I thought that too. I was like, is there an
God.
actual narrative to this, or did they just see where the kids were at whatever given point?
So
I would
you're
imagine
and then
so.
you're
go-
And good
suggesting
on them.
it's like a trendy Mad Libs?
No, but it really was
insert-
because, they were putting in every single possible pop culture, different technology of the
They
time.
needed it.
Harry Potter made it, and I am
Harry
happy
Potter
about that.
was all over, which, listen, big Potter fan, Potterhead myself, but
When you call me big pop.
but the fact that there was an entire scene just devoted to waiting in line for the books, it was like, what does this achieve?
So let's start with the story itself.
Oh, what story? I mean, I get it. Yes, it was a Boyhood. And one thing I actually did appreciate was how, even though it was linear, you really do see, I think, the milestones within his life, which I guess was probably the whole point. I thought he was way better as a child than he was as an adult. I feel like as an adult...
Well, because he had less lines.
Well, Andy, you said something interesting when we were first watching it, where you're saying, the first hour and a half, you were sold. You were
So,
like, this is cool, but then, it just... nothing happened.
Tanked.
My general consensus over this film is that the first hour and a half, when they go through the moment where she meets Bill and they go
Yes.
through that's an actual story, and that actually has a beginning, middle, and end. Whereas after that, it just kind of goes in, it just fast forward in the future. If I could describe this word in one phrase, it would be, wow, that was fast. Because I would blink and it'd be 3 years in the future.
Wow, it's so fast. It's also 2 hours and
It's
40
also
minutes
so
long.
slow.
Exactly. How ironic.
I mean, Linklater did originally say that he did want to make it a series of short films to show the life of this boy, but then once he put them all together to make a final movie, which I do give him credit for. I do think the takeaway for this movie, which was kind of gimmicky, was how it was filmed over 12 years. But I really think that's really the only cool thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fine with him trying to make a movie about, like, with little vignettes and everything about things. The problem with that is that stuff needs to happen then. Like, things, like, literally, in Claire said something interesting earlier where nothing happens in scenes. It's like, yeah, it's almost like scenes are put in this movie to have dumb, pointless philosophical platitudes that make absolutely no sense, and then that's it. The scene ends. And that's, wait, what was that? Like,
a lot of narrative dead ends.
I agree with you, Dan, and I think going once again back to the point, it was either philosophical points or also let's throw in all of the most topical things of the time to make sure people know, hey, we are doing it at this time period. This is what's going on. The only vignette that worked was with Bill.
The one through line I really liked in the film was Mason Sr., Ethan Hawke's characters. He almost had a progression from boyhood to manhood.
That's interesting. We got to address that, but I do want you to get in.
I do think the purpose of this movie wasn't, it doesn't follow a lot of normal movie arcs and stuff like that. And it does really show the mediocrity of how, a normal life can be a little bit boring. But I do feel the end, like we're going back to the philosophical points about it. The last moment of the film, which I had a huge problem with when I saw it first, and then I literally had to think about it over the night when they talk about the moment seizes us, the whole carpe diem thing. And I really think it comes down to the philosophical battle. Like, do we go ahead and change our life, or do we sit there and experience it and let life kind of just evolve as we sit back and not necessarily have to take charge in every moment?
I just want to say that, and I was telling everybody earlier, like, I wish I had recorded our reaction, because Andy, Elliot, and I watched it together, and we didn't say anything throughout the entire thing. I mean, like, so we're waiting for the last moment to happen where it's going to put, like, a nice little, like, whatever, it's going to wrap it in a bow or whatever, and then they're sitting there talking he's with that girl, and, like, she looks at him, he's away, and then they both look at each other, and then they look away, and then it just cuts to black, and all of us at the same time just all went, oh, God damn it!
I would also just like to say that I'm very impressed that Andy stayed awake for this entire film.
Yes, let's give a round of applause for Andy.
A round of applause. Dear listeners, please just know that our beloved Andy does a little thing that we like to call pollocking, which is he literally cannot stay awake during a movie, but I give you complete kudos that for this boring as shit movie, you stayed awake for the whole thing. Kudos.
One, it was a matinee.
That does make things.
I always stay awake during a matinee. Two, I was actually intrigued to watch this movie because I've always been curious about the movie, just never had the chance to do it, and it did oddly keep me entertained. Because I wanted to see what if something is actually going to happen at the end of the movie.
I actually want to go to Claire. I don't mean to exclude you from this, but I am going to make it a boys versus girl thing. Since the movie is called Boyhood and it's obviously documenting a very specific experience for him, did you find certain bits relatable to you, and did you find that appealing to you or off-putting to you?
It's hard because I didn't come from a broken home, so it's kind of hard to get that perspective about the whole thing. However, you could tell from scene one that he was going to be this introspective little kid as he's just laying there on the lawn, which also turns into a pimply, overgrown, pretentious
Hey, we
kid.
don't need to be ageist here, okay?
Kid
It's
by
very
the end.
hard for people.
But honestly, and we can touch a little bit more on this later, I thought the real interesting part of this story wasn't so much about the boyhood of the movie, more of the parenthood of the movie. I thought it should either be called Parenthood or, for that fact, Motherhood, because Patricia Arquette was phenomenal. Like I was saying before, I didn't come from a broken home, so that's like probably the biggest aspect of this boy's childhood. It kind of is the underlining voice in him the whole time. He doesn't really have a stable male role model, but I do find that he does go through, certain changes, which I went through a bunch of different changes growing up in my life, which were much more extreme than his, wearing everything from Old Navy to like Hot Topic and everything in between.
Don't you knock Old Navy. Don't you dare.
And looking at the latest in lingerie in the JCPenney catalog.
Oh my God.
Do guys do that? Like,
oh yeah.
You just didn't look at
Oh
porn?
my God.
Like, was that?
No, I looked
not that young.
I looked at National Geographic.
Oh, the saggy boobs.
That's a totally different type of woman.
Au natural.
All
Dan.
natural. My first time, I remember, was to Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Fair.
Well,
Hold on.
Jennifer Love
Christina
huge tits.
Aguilera's dirty video.
Absolutely. This is a nice little
Wait, what are we
segue.
talking
What was
about?
the first point? If anyone else would like to contribute, I do think that's hilarious.
But that's relatable. That's what
Yeah,
boys
right.
do, and that
Let's-
was in the movie.
Yeah.
So let's go through, finish this question. Dan, do you have any thoughts on if you found it relatable, and if you think that that's maybe one of the things that they were going for? Like, is that one of the tricks that you think that they pulled, or?
No, I found it super cliched in a lot of ways. Okay, well, he's a kid and he doesn't really have a father figure. Oh, his father's still around. That's kind of weird. Oh, his sister's kind of a bitch and needs attention all the time. Well, that's kind of a pain in the ass. Oh, wow, his mom is dating. His mom's going to school and she's trying to do the right thing. And then, oh, she's dating the professor. That's kind of weird. And then he's an alcoholic. Oh, my God. And then it's just kind of like, why? Like, what is the point? Like, what are you trying to say? What was the theme? Like, was there anything? Or was it just sort of like, watch this kid grow up and see how, like, life affects them and talk about seizing the moment, man? You. Take your movie and shove it up your
Well, balls can't have anything. Well, not that I know of. Annie, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, while I, like Elliot, can't relate to the situation, I did find it that it struck a little bit of a chord with me because I did grow up around the relative time. If I think I'm maybe 3 years older than he is in the story, but they definitely were really good about the pop culture references. The soundtrack was on every one of those songs was on every mix I ever made in high school.
Soundtrack was incredible.
But on a more personal note, I did really relate to the relationship that Mason had with Bill, the stepfather.
It was also the most interesting part of the entire movie because, I mean, I think it had the most weight to it. And I have a question for the group because I had very strong feelings about it. Do you think she was right, Patricia Arquette, to only take her own children out of that house and not her two stepkids?
Yes.
Let me ask you that. I mean, I want to say yes, but only because she brings up later that it would have been kidnapping if she had taken the other two kids. So I'm kind of wondering about that.
And she'd have to see him again.
She literally talks about how she contacts all the right authorities and whatnot. And, I mean, she takes all the proper steps to care for these children. But, I mean, like, bottom line, the kids are, like, what age at this point? 12? They're like, they're
12, 13.
They're at that point where these kids came from her, and like the other children, she's probably known for a total of like 4 years. So she obviously doesn't have the same connection with her kids that she does, but she legally can't take those two kids with her because she's not their legal guardian.
But how much more of an interesting movie would that have been
So-
if it turned into like a kidnapping movie?
I completely agree, Danny.
Great.
Whether it was against the law or not, I think A, it would have been far more interesting, and B, yes, technically it is kidnapping, but here's the thing.
Something would have happened.
These children are in a very, very dangerous situation. She's literally abandoning two of her children, which is very interesting because they are married. So they did get married. They are going on their honeymoon. So I would actually argue that she might be incorrect about, I mean, I don't know the laws. Listen, I'm not a lawyer, not a lawmaker or anything like that. But I would feel like maybe she has a touch of rights to at least get them out of a completely dangerous situation.
I mean, we know that Patricia Arquette in this entire movie has poor judgment. So
The worst.
But honestly, in thinking about it, I while it would have been fun for it to turn into Taken 4 starring Patricia Arquette,
The whole point of the movie.
Adventures in Babysitting Part 7.
the movie it's an experiment. It's an experiment in film, and it's almost like a character study in a way.
absolutely. All right, and with that, we are going to hear a word from our sponsors.
Want your hiney to be clean and shiny? Wipe away with High and Shine, the #1 cloth that gets it all. Don't walk away questioning your ability to do the simplest thing in life. High and Shine is battle tested by gastro enthusiasts everywhere. With the quilted design of someone's nanny and the absorption power of 100 sponges, it practically does it for you. High and Shine, leaving it clean enough to eat off of. Tested in questionable facilities near you.
That is thoroughly disgusting, and we are back.
Almost as bad as those terrifying bears.
That's pretty great.
I mean, our sponsors are very loyal people, and I don't think that we should insult them on...
I'm just trying to trade out for Old Navy, but we
Do
did
you know how
insult
much
them
Hein
too.
Shine I get a year?
By the way, our lawyers would like us to read this statement from Shine.
All right, let's get back into it, you guys.
Chipotle way.
I do want to go back to a point that Andy made about Ethan Hawke's journey. Would you like to embellish a little bit more on that?
Sure. So I was thinking about it today, and I was just kind of genuflecting on the movie, and I thought about his character because I liked Ethan Hawke in this movie. The last movie I saw him in was Training Day.
So good.
Great.
And he's great in Training Day. And then I think the only other thing I've seen him in was he did a version of Hamlet. It was like a modernized version of Hamlet, and I just find him to be a very broody actor. And in this, I found him to be very charming. But anyway, I found that Mason in the beginning was a very childish character, and Patricia Arquette was obviously very unhappy with his maturity. And the way that, because he was, making sure that he didn't make sure they did their homework. He brought them to the house when she said no. And then you see throughout, every time you see the character, which is actually not that often, by the time he has a mustache,
we could just mark this movie in time based on his facial hair.
He comes off as very mature, and he's figured it out. He's found a nice woman to settle down with that he wants to try, and he has a baby. And I think that was his growth from Boyhood, like adult Boyhood, to being a full-on man.
Mustache equals maturity.
He got a second chance, and he took it.
I have a follow-up question just for Andy. Do you think that the Mason will eventually have the same path as his? Do you think he'll follow along that same trajectory as his dad?
I would hope so. I think that a lot of people go through that, where they're big kids. And I'm in that phase in my life right now, where I'm still a big kid. But eventually, we all grow up and we learn from our mistakes. And
I'm gonna interject for 2 seconds here. I do think that's very interesting to see kind of those roles of parent and child reversed, and I think they do a nice job of that when he starts to notice his mom's kind of shortcomings and the ways that she's trying. And I think it's very interesting that I think he has he develops this need to take care of her, and it's interesting to kind of see those pathways cross. You can argue with me,
But he doesn't.
well, he doesn't have a mustache yet, so once he
Yeah,
gets a
exactly.
mustache,
No,
mustache.
Sorry,
no
he just looks like a
maturity.
future pedophile.
I mean, if we're going back to Ethan Hawke, we're talking about pure acting quality. I thought he was great. I thought
Agreed.
like his sincerity and genuinity is that all?
I don't think so, but sure.
His genuinity in this.
That is not a word.
Moving forward.
the word of the day is genuinity.
To be genuine.
He's just so genuine and real in this movie, and I think that's what the whole point of the movie is just to find the beauty in mediocrity, and that there is no real. I mean, the creator did say that he wanted to make this movie originally in a bunch of shorts. It's a documentary, non-documentary about Linklater's life. I think he does want to show just moments in this boy's life, and to find the kind of beauty and how mediocre it is, and just growing up in that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, that's fine, but if you're going to do that, you have to create a character that we at least somewhat like and can follow. This guy, there were no real likable qualities about him, really. He was just some kind of, he becomes a kind of a Richard Linklater character, where he's just sort of like this, like philosophizing, like, oh, well, what is the point of everything? But like we as an audience, and at least on a like grand scale, can't really relate to that and don't really care, because then we're given the first.
Well, he's super pretentious.
He's super pretentious, and that's kind of why it's like, okay, I don't care about, like, okay, now he's going off to school. He's going to go off and experience, like, being an adult or whatever. And by that time, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just want it to end.
And he's so smug.
Side note,
Oh
this
my
whole
God.
movie was super pretentious.
Yeah.
So
I was talking with a colleague about it this morning at work, and they were saying that they read something about how Richard Linklater's daughter, and I'm sorry, I don't know her name either,
Something Linklater.
goth chick.
Lorelai
hated doing this movie.
Which you could tell throughout the whole
exactly.
thing.
Well,
especially towards the end.
Yeah, when she's young, she's 12 years old, she's like, I'm in Daddy's movie. And then she's like, fuck this, I got to do this for another 12 years. But good on everybody in that movie for booking 12 consistent years of work.
Woof.
Do you think, though, that Richard Linklater, like, threatened to ground his daughter permanently if she pulled out of the movie?
He's like Bill.
Hey, can we talk about that? Can we talk about how awful all the acting was, pretty much, from every one of these kids, and also how awful the writing is and how contrived the dialogue was? Can we talk about that?
We can talk about
Okay, every single point.
Not the sorry.
Every single point of like every line that was muttered by the kids, especially what's the first alcoholic dad's name?
Bill.
His kids, like, they were all terrible.
They were awful.
And then the daughter was terrible. And then that scene where they're sitting there, he's with the dudes and they're sitting there like throwing the saw into the wall and they're talking about girls and all that stuff and drinking beer. Oh my God. Like some of the worst shit I've ever heard. Like it's like they don't know what to do. Like none of them can deliver the lines in a way that makes any sense. Like some of these kids, I'm like, dude, take a class.
I do agree with you on every aspect of what you just said. But the one scene that you referenced where they were in the shed throwing saws and stuff like that. That was the one time, and you guys can attest to this because you saw me during the scene, that I actually felt some moment of tension. That was actually like a scene that could go wrong. And I was on the edge of my seat like, oh my God.
I heard you go.
Because when the kid is they set it up, and they set that up pretty well. They get to the point where something bad could happen, and then they cut back and they have a meaningless conversation. And then the one kid at the end stands up, he positions himself in front of the saw, and a kid says, I'm going to do a power kick or something like that. And he kicks. That could easily go wrong, and it doesn't.
Narrative dead ends.
Yeah.
Dan, you can go back to, because I know you had something to say there.
It's fine, but like, and that speaks to what this whole movie is. There's a big setup for everything, and there's never a payoff once. And it's just kind of like, dude, like that part where he's like, oh yeah, he's gonna have to like he kills the kid on the saw, and then he's gonna have I thought the same thing. And I was like, okay, he's gonna have to deal with it. He's gonna have to like go to the hospital and say goodbye and all this. No, and then the scene just ends.
Just nothing
like,
happens.
oh yeah, he's gonna shoot the gun, and then he's gonna like end up wanting to do something with shooting a gun, and he's gonna kill his artistic dreams because he wants to do something. No, the scene just ends. Okay, yeah, he's talking to his dad. His parents are like, don't text and drive, and then he's texting and driving, talking to the girl, and then they're like talking about some bullshit philosophy, and then no, the scene just ends. And I thought he was gonna like get in an accident while texting and driving, and it's like, oh no, he's gonna deal. No, that's
it just sounds like it's an emotional blue balling the entire time.
Yes.
We're forgetting that the whole point of this movie isn't because in most movies it's not like most movies, because in most movies it's a heightened reality, right? And that's what makes it interesting. This whole movie is based off of mediocre reality. Like if somebody filmed our lives, it would not be like somebody gets sawed in half or somebody gets shot. Or
I beg to differ.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say our live movie would be so much more interesting.
Back to Elliot.
No, but I mean, it does. This whole movie is about just the little moments, and it's just showing moments in this kid's life and how he progresses through them and the beauty in mediocrity.
I do want Andy to go. I do want to say something real quick, though. So if it is finding the beauty in mediocrity, which I completely get where you're coming from, when does it rise above mediocrity, though? That's my question.
When does it not be boring?
Well, like I said, the whole thing's a gimmick. I think just the fact that they shot it over 12 years is a huge undertaking in itself. And I think if they did this movie not 12 years, they actually picked like other people and they shot it over like 1 or 2 years, I think it would be totally different.
Yeah, and we all like to say that yes, our movie would be very interesting, but thinking about it, mine would just be bong rips in South Park in my teen years. It's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I got arrested for stealing a mini little toy and then had to go through all these community service hours, which is nothing exciting.
Did you see that movie about the guy who stole the toy?
Oh my God, he stole that toy, and then he had to go through all those community service hours.
And then Liam Neeson came and...
All right, Dan.
So we're going into like our lives are mundane, and there's no like excitement, and there's no climax or whatever. Okay, but this is a movie. Like something should happen, and not only that, like when you go on the gimmick of like, well, it was filmed over 12 years. Okay, then it's just Oscar bait. That's all it is. It's just people going, okay, it was filmed for 12 years. Shouldn't it win an Oscar? You got to respect that artistic integrity. No, you. It's a shitty movie about a boring asshole who doesn't do anything.
Which really just makes me think, who the hell funded this goddamn movie?
Same guy who funded Spy Kids 3D.
But all right, let's settle down.
Yes.
Claire gets a turn.
I would just like to piggyback off of the gimmicks. There are so many other movies that have used gimmicks that are actually interesting and artistic. The Artist, the gimmick of being completely silent. Birdman, where it seems like it's an entire shot, but they cheated. Yeah. There are ways to do gimmicks, but make an interesting movie. And Elliot, if you goddamn say one more time that it's about mediocrity, that's great, but you don't have to make a mediocre movie about mediocrity. Mic drop!
I wasn't at all. I was just gonna say. I mean, it is a gimmick, and I totally believe it. I was not thrown. I was not like totally into this movie at all. I mean, if you were with us, you would totally see how I felt about this movie. This movie is just trying to find some beautiful things about life being average, and that's okay. However, to harp on Claire's point, I'm glad I didn't pay the $14 to $18 to go see this movie in theaters. But like, where this movie will sit in film history is that it took 12 years to film it.
So, well, we started talking a little bit about Bill, and it seemed like that was going to be a fired up conversation. So let's start getting into the performances. Aside from Ethan Hawke's, I think we've covered his. I don't think we need to go there anymore. Let's go to Bill right now. What did we feel about Bill's performance?
I thought he was one of the stronger actors in the film.
Word.
You saw his progression from when you first see him in the classroom, and you think he's going to be this nice guy. That, oh my God, the mother's finally met a nice guy. He's got a job. You know, he's got kids. I was happy for her at that moment when they became. And then there's the moment when they're at dinner, and he asks for a second bottle of wine, and it's just the two of them. And then you slowly see it. But that being said, when I found out he was an alcoholic, I was like, oh, okay, obviously this guy's an alcoholic.
I would argue, though, the minute he starts talking to her after the class in, like, kind of that smarmy way, I was like, no. I don't like this guy.
But that being said, I mean, he did deliver that performance, and you actually felt those feelings towards him.
He was phenomenal. I loved him. Him and Ethan Hawke were my two favorites of the movie.
Not to make everyone a psychologist for a second, but her many bad husbands keep coming up. Why do you think that she keeps choosing these bad people?
I mean, I'm not saying everybody, but like, you know, the average person does, you know, they're attracted to a certain aspect about somebody, and they will generally date the same people over and over again, no matter how bad it is for them. Think about people that are in terrible relationships that don't get out of them because they know they're in a terrible relationship and they just continue to go with it. It's because they know their comfort zone and they know what they like, and if they like the bad boy or the...
Yes, I completely agree. People usually do have a type, but a lot of times, I mean, maybe we're generalizing here, but a lot of times that's kind of throughout high school, that's throughout college, and like eventually a lot of people wise up. Now, I'm not saying everyone does. But, you know, Patricia Arquette's character has been formulated to be a very intelligent woman, a woman who stands up for her family, who understands her values. This woman is in her 40s and she's still making the same mistakes. I'm sure that part of it is a character flaw, but I'm also wondering if part of it is because it was written by a male and using those stereotypes.
I mean, but honestly, you don't see this alcoholism from the beginning from either of the male characters. It's not like she met this guy in a bar. She met Bill as her teacher. And then she meets Army Man at a party. He's literally one of her students.
That was his name in the credits.
Army Man.
Army Man.
She meets both of these men in, you know, very controlled situations and in very, like, inspiring situations. At the beginning of each one of these male characters, you do see the light in them, and you're like, oh, they're so different from the last guy. I mean, like, Bill is so different from Ethan Hawke's, like, you know, rocker guy who doesn't want to take responsibility for children, so he like moves across the world because he doesn't, you know, he's not ready for children. So she dates somebody who's a teacher. He has good head on his shoulders. He already has children, so he's kind of in the same situation. And then she dates Army Man guy because he has all these principles, but he has all these ideals, and he's seen a lot of stuff, and you know, he's just different from the last two guys as well.
I did notice that after every husband or boyfriend, the mother, Patricia Arquette's character, became stronger. You could see her becoming stronger after she left Ethan Hawke, and then the one guy who wanted her to go out with him all the time, that one random boyfriend. She went back to school. She met Bill. Bill came back. She abused her. She wanted to be a psychiatrist. She met this guy in school, and then you notice at the end she seems like she has her life together in a way.
Well, it's interesting too, Claire, what you said about the whole thing like being written by a male as well, because I didn't like the way males were portrayed in this either. Like I didn't like the way anyone was portrayed in this. I mean, the fact that like the first boyfriend she had is an asshole who gets angry because she doesn't want to go out with him and wants to stay home with her kids, and the next guy's an alcoholic. The ex boyfriend who had the kids with her, or the ex husband or whatever, is this immature dude. There's a part where they come home after like hanging out, and she's like, "Did you do your chores? Did you do your homework? Did you do anything?" And the kids didn't do any of that. She goes out and argues with Ethan Hawke. Then the next guy that she had, the army man, is a fucking alcoholic, and it's just kind of like it's almost like these characters aren't characters. They were put there as cliches to be megaphones for whatever bullshit Linklater wants to throw out that makes us think about the life, man.
But do you think that in seeing kind of this abuse or manipulation shown in these different ways for Patricia Arquette, do you think that Mason's character, the character of Mason, learned anything specifically from each one of those? Do you think that he had an arc in regards to that, or do you think it was a repetition of the same thing?
I mean, Mason Jr. is still kind of a little shit by the end. Like,
he is. I don't think he learns really anything.
He really is. And it's like, dude, you can see how not to treat a woman, but like then he turns into this, and I get it. He grew up in a very broken home. He had to watch his mom with all these terrible men, but like, then step up, dude. Like, step up.
Well, that's kind of the thing, too. Like, I agree with that. He doesn't really have any kind of arc. I mean, you could argue that he ends up going from, like, the boy to the man, and he's going to school, whatever the hell. But, like, he starts off with his mom saying, like, as a kid, like, hey, she says you're staring out the window all the time, and you're not really, like, the teacher says you're staring out the window, and you're not really pursuing anything. And he's, like, staring at the clouds in the beginning, and the sky is, like, he's staring at the sky, and the song is by Coldplay. It's that, like, look at the stars, whatever the hell.
Great
and then
song.
It ends,
Yellow?
and then
Isn't it yellow?
And then it goes, yeah, it's
Written
yellow.
for Gwyneth Paltrow.
It goes through all this crap of him, like, experiencing all these things, and then he just ends up taking, like, what was it, shrooms, and going and hanging out in the desert.
Peyote.
Yeah.
Peyote.
Okay, there you go. But, like,
It
he just ends up doing that shit, and it's like, that's what I thought, too.
It was peyote.
You gotta trust Elliot with that.
I just need to make a point real quick that Elliot is the one who pointed out that it was peyote. So,
Did anyone else notice that Mason never showed Junior?
Which one?
Junior never showed any sort of anger or any sort of emotions towards the men that his mother was
Or just any
involved
emotions.
with. Yeah, any emotions at all. Yeah, was that acting or was that just his dreaming mentality of?
Well, by the point where Army Man is there, he does back talk to him. He's the only one that he actually does have that kind of negative interaction with. I knew that it was peyote. This movie has made me never want to do drugs less because of that last line. And like I have had profound experiences on shrooms and drugs in general. However, watching him say that about Carpe Diem made me never to ever want to do Joshua Tree.
The biggest buzzkill.
I just want to point out, too, there was a point where, Elliot, you got up. They were having a conversation, I think, in the car about something, and she's showing him the pig that she got or whatever on her phone, and you just get up in the middle of it, and you walk into the kitchen, and I just hear you go, this is a conversation about nothing! And then there's a point where like they're doing something else, and then you took a pillow, and you put your face into it, and I just hear him scream at the top of his lungs into the pillow, what are they talking about?
It was that moment when they were in the restaurant and they were having a conversation about nothing, and then as a smack in the face to everybody watching the movie, they dip a chip in the queso and cut to black.
Like, I'm wondering if Texas was a part of Linklater's life or something like that. I thought it was interesting having it set in Texas.
Dan's looking it up.
I think that Linklater was, well, obviously Almost Famous is based on his life.
Wait,
Richard
what?
Linklater.
No, that's written by
No.
someone
That's
else.
Cameron. That's Cameron Crowe.
That's
mind.
Cameron
You're
Crowe.
so wrong. You're thinking of Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused, yes.
Wait, what else? Actually, what else has
Are you
Linklater
serious?
done?
Talking about this podcast and you don't
No,
know
I
anything
mean,
about it?
honestly,
Hey,
I don't.
No podcast shaming.
I don't
and
know.
Confused is probably one of his
I've
biggest
never
ones.
seen that.
Holy hell.
Let's get back. Dan, what did you find?
Richard Mason Linklater, born in Houston, Texas, U.S. No, I'm kidding. His middle
Mason.
name's Stewart.
How did everyone rave about it? I guess that is my main question.
That is a question that
Well,
is
Claire, I
yet
don't know
to
if you
be
knew this,
answered.
but it was filmed over the course of 12 years.
Oh my God. Wait, Dan, was it filmed over the course of 12
It was
years?
filmed over 12 years.
Was he trying to show the mediocrity of life?
He was trying. Well, what he was
For
doing.
12 years.
What he was doing is he was filming a movie that was an incredible artistic masterpiece over the course of 12 years. You have to respect that kind of artistic integrity to
Listen.
stick with a movie for 12 years.
If you're going to talk about a 12-year movie, 12 Years as a Slave is a lot bigger.
So much bigger.
But that
Boyhood.
Filmed
but
in not a
ironically,
year.
That movie did not take 12 years
Did
to
not
make.
take
So
12 years to
is it
make.
as
Yeah, that's
good?
fucking.
Yes.
They should not have gotten the Oscar for that because it only took them like a year and a half.
Oh my God. It did not take them that long.
Andy, real quick, and then we're going to start going to closing.
Yes.
No, nothing?
No.
It was piggybacking off the 12 years.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and with that, we are going to get another word from our sponsors.
Have you questioned whether or not you should take another step, tiptoeing around the situation? Well, with Carpet Diem, you can take back your life and make the most out of your in-home steps. Stop worrying about your dirty shoes or your stinky feet. With this product, you don't have to feel uncomfortable about leaving a stain on tomorrow. Carpet Diem. Trust us to carry you into the future.
All right, so we are back in, and we're going to finish up with some thoughts about Patricia Arquette. We didn't really fully cover her full performance, and I honestly don't quite know where to take this off. So I'm going to just start off by saying we've talked about Ethan Hawke. We've talked about a couple of other performances. How do we feel about Patricia Arquette?
She deserved the Oscar for this movie, and she has come a long way. I thought that her character grew in my eyes, and every relationship that she had that went wrong made her stronger.
You gotta think, she was up against people at the Oscars like Laura Dern and Emma Stone, Meryl Streep, and they gave it to her. There is a reason to why she won this. Her character does have an arc, as some of us don't think that she does.
Here's the thing. I think that I was misunderstood. I would like to clarify. Her character, as written, does have an arc. Patricia Arquette, in her acting choices, I personally feel has no arc. I felt that she was always at the same tone throughout the entire movie, and I
disagree.
I just didn't see any sort of change.
In the beginning, you see her frustration with her current situation, and then her decision to want to go back to school. For her character in general, has made me kind of have more appreciation for my own mother, because you do so much for your children throughout the course of your life and their life, and you don't get a lot back from that immediately. You do see the character of Mason and the character of what's-her-face. What's the daughter's name?
Linklater's daughter.
Linklater's daughter. You do just see how unappreciative that they are about the whole situation. And even though she takes them from bad situation to house, she totally has like a fuck it all moment at the end where she's like, okay, you guys are going to move out. I'm going to start doing what I want to. But she still feels so much once her final child leaves. You see that kind of like breakdown of like, the next thing that she has is death. And like, what is she going to do after this?
I just felt like that breakdown was so forced. I don't know. Oh gosh. Listen, I thought she had really beautiful moments.
Well, okay, so I have a question then in terms of Patricia Arquette, because Claire, honestly, I feel very similarly to you.
Thank God.
But I don't remember specifics because, again, I've chosen not to watch this movie since I
because
watched
it is
last
a
year.
waste of almost 3 hours.
Just real quick, do you think that, and I'm seriously not making a joke, do you think that the fact that it was filmed over 12 years and that she has such a crucial role in it, do you think that makes it more biased towards her in terms of winning the Oscar? Do you think that has any part in it?
Absolutely. 100%.
I feel like her character is always portrayed in these pivotal points of her life, and you don't get to see the kind of overdone word of mediocrity of her life. That's why I think this movie is more about her than it is really anything else. She's the only kind of driving force of this entire movie that you find.
That's actually a very interesting point. I would say her and Ethan Hawke slightly under her. I do believe that like she's more of the driving force, but like I think that was actually Andy's point earlier on, was about it's more about the parents than the boy.
But with Ethan Hawke's character, he's kind of like the fun uncle that comes in, you know, at moments of this kid's life. He's not there 24/7 like the mother is. And he also puts his children in a drug house. I mean, not really a drug house, but his house where there's drugs and stuff there. And he's trying to be more of a friend, I feel, to his kids than actually be a father until he actually wises up and like, you know, much later in his life.
But I would argue, I'm so sorry, Dan, I just have to say this one little nugget. I would argue that Ethan Hawke shows far more progression within his acting and his choices than I believe Patricia Arquette does. And listen, I love Patricia Arquette. I think she's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful actress. But I think that Ethan Hawke is more successful in that. I found it very odd. Maybe this was just how I was raised. I thought it was very odd that he was both smoking weed and drinking at age 14.
Not weird at all.
You didn't do that?
Not weird.
No. I most
Coming from me,
certainly
it's not weird at all.
I most certainly never did that or even thought about that at 14. I was like, this is way too young.
Andy, they literally should have made this movie about our lives because my mom caught my weed in a Lion King box when I was 16.
That is priceless. I'm saying this right now because I know that my mom's going to listen to this. Mom, I never did that shit. So let's wrap this baby up. My friends, what are your final thoughts?
You guys, it was made in 12 years, and
It's all about living the moments of mediocrity.
It's about living the moments of mediocrity.
Didn't like the movie. Love the soundtrack.
Oh,
I think that everybody should watch it just to see the movie. And I have a newfound respect for Ethan Hawke as an actor.
oh.
Okay.
I thought this movie was miserable. Half the time I was kind of like leaning forward, waiting for something to happen, and nothing would. I respect it for what they were trying to do, but at the same time, I don't respect it for what they were trying to do.
Dan, did you know it took 12 years to make this
Did
film?
it take 12 years to make this film?
Took 12 years.
Elliot?
Profound garbage. I think it was a gimmick.
Like,
I think it
like
was
that catchphrase you just created.
I think it
Also loves the word profound.
All right, take it back for
What's
Elliot.
the Elliot catchphrase?
I can never finish a thought on this table.
Yes, you can.
To be fair, you had several paragraphs.
To be fair,
my
your
friend.
thoughts take 2 minutes.
All right, let's do a clean slate for Elliot. Elliot, what are your final thoughts?
I thought it was just a gimmick movie that kind of falls short.
I have one more alternative question before we go to Andy's quiz. What do you think this movie wanted you to take away from it? Don't mention
Why
that.
are we getting back into this?
No, I
No, but,
honestly,
like, I think it was made with a message.
Yes, I
that
honestly
it
do
wanted.
think very much to Elliot's profound point that there is mediocrity in life, and to see that progression. And honestly, I think it is to be thankful for the little moments in life.
You either take away something from this movie or you take a nap.
Or you polish.
Or you polish.
I get that there's beauty in the mundane nature of life and beauty in mediocrity or whatever. But what you don't need to do is make a 2-hour and 45-minute movie about it. This movie could have been cut in half, and it would have had pretty much the same effect as what we walked away from it with.
I mean, do you want my tagline?
Do you want my actual
That
opinion
they-
on why they wrote it and why they did it? Because I'll just say Oscars.
There
That's
you go.
valid. No, that's
Yeah,
valid.
that's valid.
That's valid.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I am now handing it over to our dear Andy Pollack to give us a quiz that is somewhat related to Boyhood. How is it related?
Today's quiz, to figure out who will pick the film we watch next week, is about the great North American hawk.
Jesus.
Okay, now explain why.
Because Ethan Hawke is in this movie. The game is called One and Done. So I'm going to ask everybody one question with multiple answers. You pick the correct answer. If you don't get it right, you're out. If it comes down to two people, there's a sudden death question. And if neither of you win, then I get to pick the movie next week.
God damn it.
Andy, will any of us win?
All right. Danny, you're first.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Poop shoot. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
What is the most commonly found hawk in North America?
This is so stupid.
The blue-eyed hawk,
Blue-eyed.
the gray hawk,
Okay.
the red-tailed hawk,
Red-tailed hawk. I don't even need to hear the
the
fourth.
big black hawk.
Red-tailed hawk.
Correct. All right,
can
Danny is now in the lead.
Can I dedicate my answer to someone? I need to thank Wallace for that because the kid that I nanny loves wildlife and he talks about red-tailed hawks all the time. So if I win this, it's because of you.
Good job, Wallace. All right, Claire, are you ready?
No.
Which of these is a common characteristic of the red-tailed hawk? They perch and swoop to catch their prey. They can see their prey from high up in the sky. They are smart, independent hawks who don't need no man to tell them how to live their life.
Oh, boy.
All of the above.
Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. I am going to go with A.
Nope.
Incorrect.
Damn it! Was it all of the
They can
above?
see their
B.
prey from high above in the
B.
sky.
Yep.
Wait, no, but they do
They don't
swoop
perch
and
and swoop.
perch.
They don't perch and swoop. They
They
just
fly,
swoop.
they hover, and
Wait,
fly.
but they
and-
have to perch and then they swoop.
No, they don't.
Claire, you're fighting facts right now.
Okay.
All right, Dan, are you ready?
God damn it.
Let me get Google open.
Nope.
No. No.
God damn it.
This one's fitting with the
Never
film.
would have known.
Who takes care of the baby hawks?
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan.
Both the mother and the father. The father only. They don't need to be taken care of after hatching. Hakeem Warwick, formerly of the Phoenix Suns and Syracuse basketball,
basketball, baby.
his girlfriend's aunt, who is a nanny.
That is. Oh, come on.
It's definitely that one.
Who takes care of the Hawks? I'm gonna go with C. They don't need nobody.
Incorrect.
God damn it!
Both the mother and the father.
Oh, it's a happy. It's
All
a
right,
happy
so
happy
Elliot,
song.
if you get this right, you both go to sudden death. Otherwise, Danny wins.
Okay.
Excited.
How are hawks and wolves similar? They howl. They attacked Liam Neeson and his gang when their plane crash landed in the middle of Alaska with no chance of survival in that movie, The Grey. And also, oh my God, did anyone else notice that Dermot Mulroney was in that movie?
Love him.
I loved him in My Best Friend's Wedding. He had
great.
a gray beard and everything. I totes think he planned that for this movie. So old and sophisticated now.
All C?
That's B.
That was
That's
B.
B.
There is always a leader of the pack. They hunt and catch their prey together.
D.
Correct.
What?
All right.
Sudden death, baby. Let's go.
Elliot, you got that correct, which means you and Danny are going to sudden death.
All
right. The way that sudden death works is that whoever gets this question right picks the movie next week. Elliot, Danny? Yeah. Are you ready for the final question? Mm-hmm. The first person to yell out the name of a professional sports team with the word hawk in it wins. Go.
Atlanta Hawks.
Elliot
The Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Or
Yeah.
Seahawks.
wins!
Yeah,
You could have won if
I
you
don't
were
even
faster.
know what that is, though. Is that...
Seahawks is a football team in Seattle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Elliot Wadsworth is the winner of One and Done. Elliot,
Claire.
what will we be watching next week?
Next week, guys, we will be watching the new M. Night Shyamalan Split.
23 identities live in Kevin's body.
I have red thought. He's not well. I'm too impulsive.
Pardon me, sir. I think you have the wrong car.
Someone's coming for you. You're not gonna like it. You will be in the presence of something greater.
Split, rated PG-13.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Okay, so we just watched the trailer for Split.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
All right. Everyone's initial thoughts. I'm gonna say right now, already have a theory. I think that Kevin is Kevin McAllister from Home Alone because he had a lot of shit that he went through, and this is the product.
I'm obsessed with that.
It's totally gonna be untrue, but God, I wish it was real.
Is the Beast Buzz?
Yes, absolutely.
Buzz, your girlfriend.
Woof.
Or the Beast is Buzz's girlfriend.
Absolutely.
Woof.
Guys, I think we should write M. Night Shyamalan and just say, hey, if you didn't think of this, this is a better option.
Well, that's the twist.
That's what I'm...
No, guys, the twist is that he filmed this movie over the course of 12 years.
For mediocrity. You guys, so I've actually never seen the trailer, but I already know the twist at the ending.
I know, so like, don't say it.
Obviously, I won't say it.
Who wrecked it for you?
Oh, God, fucking YouTube wrecked it for me. It was a late night. But I'm super excited to see the movie, though, and I love me...
a good twist.
I just
James
want you to
McAvoy.
end the sentence
James
there.
McAvoy?
I
love
me.
me. James
you guys-
McAvoy.
I love me a James McAvoy, and it reminded me of the 39 Steps for some odd reason, and I'm so excited.
Okay, Andy.
Great choice, Elliot. I think that we're going to have a lot to talk about on this. It's nice to see James McAvoy finally looking like Dr. Xavier with the shaved head.
He does in the last three. He does
Professor.
Oh,
Professor.
Sorry.
He has
Dan.
that PhD.
Dan, your nerd
I'm excited.
is showing.
I'm excited.
My nerd is showing.
Yeah.
All I have to say about it is don't fuck it up, M. Night, because I think there's potential and talent there, but the last few movies I've been wanting to kill myself during, so let's do this.
I mean,
This is a good, solid premise.
I think it's going to be a dice roll, not only with M. Night's kind of shortcomings in his latest movies with his twists, but also in James McAvoy too. Like, he has 23 different characters to play. That's going to be an actor's challenge, and I'm like so ready to see what he does with it.
I think he's going to be great at it. All right, everyone. We hope that you will join us next week when we review Split. In the meantime, Dan, send us off.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Buzzkill Films, and we'll see you next week with our review and discussion of M. Night Shyamalan's film Split.